I think you could still have a big market approach to doing things in a smaller community.
I can't wrap my head around everything that you do.
I like the adrenaline rush that directing gives you.
That's a quarter of a century, everybody.
The band's called Twisted Chrome.
Nobody talks to you about that in journalism, do they?
I don't think so.
An inside look at the people in front of and behind the cameras at NTV on this episode of Inside NTV.
On this week's episode of Inside NTV, we are looking at and talking to people who are behind the scenes here at NTV, who help put the newscast on the air for you to enjoy at home. And one of those key players is sitting to my left right now, Kolten, and it's Virus, correct?
Yeah.
Not virus.
No, that's the same word.
Yes, but it's Virus, Kolten Virus. Kolten, you have been with NTV for quite some time, correct?
Yeah, 5.5-ish years.
5.5 years. And your job is you are the evening video editor.
Yes.
And we'll get into how that works and what you have to do with that. In the past, you were also the grow editor.
Yes.
So at that time, I think you worked a Tuesday through Saturday shift. I think
at that time I had Thursdays and Fridays.
Oh, okay. But anyway, you caught Grow on the weekend and had to piece it all together for Steve. And so that's how Grow got on the air, was this guy. He was the one that put it all together and worked with Steve, and might have to text him or call him on the weekend and go, hey, this doesn't fit, or this needs to be whatever.
I had one person recognize me from the Grow credits. Just one of my mom's friends.
That's fun.
So, yeah.
There you go. As far as the video editing on a day-to-day basis, walk us through what that entails.
It's a lot of hurry up and wait.
Okay.
Because I either have to wait for a coworker out in the field to get done recording and piecing together their stuff to send it to me. So I have to wait for it to upload, then I have to download it, then I got to put it through our system, which just encrypts it onto a server, which then I can actually use and assign it a serial number that our system for the director could just hit play on.
It essentially links it to that script.
Yes.
So if I am producing a show and I want to move a story around, I can move that script up and down in the rundown, and the video will just stick with it, correct?
Yeah, because it's assigned to that video ID. Anywhere, anytime you use that same one, it should be connected, except for the times our system says goodbye.
And speaking of that, without going into too much crazy detail, not every day is perfect in the world of technology, and it's just stuff happens. And so you have to kind of finagle things from time to time to make sure you get it on. And again, other than reporters who, if they're in-house and they're in an edit bay, they may attach their own story. But for the most part, probably 80 to 85%, if not more, of the video is coming from a video editor. And in the evening, it's likely coming from you.
Yeah. If not me, then Kendra. And
So that there is a level of communication that producers have to have with somebody like you, right?
Yeah, because if you want what you want on, then you got to tell me. Otherwise, I'm not going to blind fire and choose something weird. But if I don't understand, then that just makes it longer to get to that point where I can link it up. So if it's last minute with a reporter sending it in, or whatever ABC or sister station that's taking forever to send it up, and communication is very good in the communication department.
and for me, when I anchor sports for the 9 o'clock show, I'm not quite as talented as Darren and Trey and Matt. I'm not editing my own stuff. So whenever I go to grab a soundbite that I want, say from a press conference, I'll download it or pull it from somewhere or find YouTube, and I will send it to this guy and just say, hey, take it from this spot to this spot. And then if you're not sure, you ask me, and then we make sure we get what we want, and you kind of ship it in there.
Yes, I take things from Twitter and YouTube often.
One of the crazy things that I think I want to pull back the curtain on, since we have you here, was 2021. I don't think a lot of people realize what happened in October of that year. Yeah. The entire company for Sinclair had a hack. To make it simple, and we weren't able to access our video. The program we used to do our scripts kind of went away for a while. Somebody hit a button outside. But so at that point, your job changed a little. I mean, you weren't able to just link stuff into the system. What did you have to do?
So during that there was a small period of time where I couldn't even use my computer, which is the only computer, or at least only computers that have the editing software. So without that, I could do nothing for probably a couple of weeks. But then after that, it was just putting everything onto zip drives and then plugging it into the Fred computer, which is just the nickname for our random computer up there. And
In the control room. Yep.
yes, and they would just essentially screen share from our system to show that screen on Fred, and we just in between showing our anchors, change the video to whatever is the next thing. So very limited shows, but it's all we could do.
Right, and the Kolten, when you were able to get back into getting that computer working, at least you were able to edit stuff and put them on thumb drives, like you said, and then we'd run it off and do it that way.
And we did like FileZilla after a while.
That's true.
That was a system that kind of works, which occasionally I have to dip back into, which is why it's on the taskbar, because whenever our system just decides to not work anymore, you have to have fail safes because I want the show to get on.
That's your job. I mean, as much as it's the producer's responsibility to get the show on, it's the editor's responsibility to make sure the video gets done.
Yeah, and then it's the director's to make sure that it plays.
Correct. So there's multi-stages there. It's not just one person doing stuff. It's definitely multiple levels of getting the product on the air. What is, aside from just the editing, what has made you decide, like, you're here 5.5 years. That's a pretty lengthy period of time for a TV station, especially of our size. I have pride in this place, but it's also a smaller market. What has made you decide, hey, this is the thing I like to do, this is where I want to be?
I like Carney. Like the people I've met while drinking, they're amazing. They're my friends. So that's most of the reason I stay. It's a very simple job here as well. Like, I don't have to do too much. I just sit here on a computer, and that's very easy and comfortable. I'm a creature of habit. That was literally what I said to Molly when I was in that phone interview. I'm like, I'm a creature of habit. Even if I want to leave, I probably won't because I have to have change, and I don't like that.
It's not digging a ditch every day, certainly. So it's definitely not that. But there is pressure. There's stress, for sure, when we're trying to get late-breaking stuff in. Probably for you, the bigger worry is when the internet, not here in the building, but for a reporter trying to send something in, isn't moving as fast as we might like. And trying to coordinate with a reporter or a photographer out in the field trying to get stuff into you because you want to get it on so that, their work pays off and actually makes air.
Because I don't necessarily care how things are. I'd rather, like, overall the show can be whatever for me. I don't care what's in it. I just want that it looks good on my end, so that I'm not making the reporters look bad because that's something they're going to do for their career. I could go into anything and do anything I'd want. So I'm not committed to the idea of just like, this needs to be perfect. Like, do you like it, producer? Like, good. Does the reporter like it? All right, cool. Just moving on down the line.
You mentioned really liking Kearney and you like the area and like being here. Without going into too many details, this place is a family atmosphere. I mean, people are friends. I don't necessarily know if everybody goes out every night and hangs out or whatever, but there's a good chunk of you younger folk. I'm 40. I feel old sitting next to Kolten. But basically, you guys hang out. You guys enjoy each other.
Yeah, granted, they're like 4 years younger than me, and it makes me feel old because I don't understand half their lingo, and I refuse to as well. It's not too often, like once or so a week, but there's been coworkers that are actively trying to hang out before the past, and then there's dry spells of there is no one who wants to hang out, and it's just like, in this market, they're going to be gone in a year, maybe two, and then someone else is going to come in.
There and for people that don't know, I mean, they probably do by watching. There are when we have younger people come in, reporters or whatever. A lot of times they'll come in for 2 years or so and move on to a bigger market or closer to home or whatever it is because they aren't from here originally. But we have a lot of folks here that are either from here and want to be here, or people that moved here and chose to stay. So we have a lot of veteran talent, which is nice. And Kolten, you're getting closer and closer to that range.
Yeah, I'm getting that in classification.
What's it? What is it? How does it feel for you now at this stage of in the game of editing and being able to do this stuff to be able to help a younger reporter who maybe isn't as versed with Avid, which is our editing software, or needing help with making graphics, or how do I do this, or how do I do that? Because I'll be honest, when somebody calls me, I'm the assistant news director. When somebody in the field says, we've experienced this multiple times, says, "Hey, I have an editing question," I immediately walk the phone over to you, 100% of the time.
Like doing the whole thing itself just feels like I'm like retraining my kid how to walk. The kid I don't have, but just like okay, daycare. I'm doing this again. I'm doing this again with a new person again. Some people don't get it often because Avid is a annoying thing to work with. It is very particular and so expansive, and that is off-putting because it just starts blank. It's like, you can customize this however you want, and I have no idea what I want. So it's a lot to take in, and it's a lot of whatever for new reporters. But feels like it's like the first time.
But then whenever you have somebody that you've worked with and they're succeeding and they're able to get stuff done without your help, and I'm not in that category, but you're able to look at them and go, yeah, I was able to train them up enough to get them to where they are.
Yeah, because I can actually take time off. The occasional time. But, you're always learning something new about it because there's some weird way to do things that some new person's going to just figure out because they have whatever other experience from other softwares and just wing it, just trying clicking buttons randomly. And it's like, I'm going to do that now because it's easier. So, even though with Avid, you're not supposed to drag and drop most of the time, I do it because it's easy, and it's easy to explain it to people. Because you don't need to memorize button combos, even though all these shortcuts are on the keyboards. Done.
Yeah, and editing is a particular thing, which is nice that you have a grasp of it and you're able to get it as quickly as you can to turn stuff like you do.
I have used so many editing softwares because I started on iMovie for high school because it was on our laptops. Then I bought my own software, which was like Corel Video Studio. Not the greatest, but it is okay. Then college was Premiere. And then when I started here was Edius.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, Edius. Then now Avid. So the knowledge does carry over to different softwares that are in the same category, So much like using Excel or Word, there's an overlap between the two.
Do you have a memory or two of your 5+ years here that you can share with people watching this podcast or listening to it right now? That sticks out to you that for any reason, whether it's everything went wrong and had to dig out from underneath a giant pile of mess, or it was really exciting, or something really happened, went really well, that you happened to have a hand in or were a part of. I know while you think about that, one of the busier nights here that you have to deal with as well is sports extra nights. Friday nights in the fall, especially football, but basketball too in the winter. It's not just the Treys and the Darrens and the Matt Friedas. It's also other reporters that are going out and shooting games, but it's also this guy who has to make sure that everybody's football or basketball games get put in, just like you would for a reporter story, news story during the week. And that can be pressure packed because there's no going back if we hit 10:35 and something hasn't made air.
Or, it's a couple of minutes before the thing needs to be put in, and I'm just downloading it because it just came in, and it's labeled something weird. How many times our sports people label things just like sound or this random location, or almost every single time they label things, the two towns that are versus each other, they have it in the scripts, whatever versus whatever, and then they'll have it reversed for the file name. So our system only has so many characters. It
Sure.
cuts off at a certain point. But it just a lot of slow and mixed with a lot of fast, and it's those are, yes, strenuous, but I think it's the first one that came to my mind when I was thinking of a good time, a good memory, was in the booth. We have conversations happening just the entire time. Otherwise, it's silence mixed with just breathing from a mic. So when Brian, myself, and Joe were in the booth, we just did whatever to occupy our time. We created like our own storyline of like who we were. Like we were like the villains in this cockamamie thing, and the hero of weather was Regina Bird. Just we were going crazy, just occupying any amount of time. We made a song called Waukesha, just like reminiscing on I Walk This Lonely Road,
Okay.
this Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Just stupid because we need time to pass by during a break.
Yeah, so you're pointing out, obviously they're working on making sure they're getting the show done during the segments, but yeah, there's a 2.5 minute break usually, especially at 10, in between each segment, 3 minutes at some point toward the end, and try to keep it a little loose as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. Even though we're all, on the production side, we're predominantly just introverts. Silence is very awkward once it's straight talking and then nothing.
I know. I should ask this question because if I don't, I'll be mad at myself afterwards. This guy knows way too much about the Power Rangers,
Of course.
and not just the Power Rangers, but like the Japanese origin of where the video came from.
Yes.
Is it the Sentai?
Yes.
Is that what it's called? Okay. All right, I'll just go with this route instead. How did you get interested in that?
That is a very, very good question. Let's see. I've been on the internet for far too long. It's a curse. It really is. Internet was a mistake. It's mainly social media. But at some point, I'm going to blame my brother. Make it simple. He decided to rewatch everything because it was on Netflix.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I kind of want to see these things. And whenever that happened, I saw more on social media about like the correct origins, where things were, the original shots, censorings, and things like that. I'm like, what about me just being able to see the thing so I can compare these scenes? Because as a kid, even, you can tell when a shot is so easily not normal because they're going from this rock quarry back to this same rock quarry, or they're in the juice bar and then somewhere completely else in looking like dated footage. It's like something's weird where it's the same repeat animation or the same repeat shot again and again. Like, so I yearning to want to know what was going on.
And what I find interesting in that, and why that's interesting to you, you have the editing background. You play with video every day. I mean, you work with video, but still, it's that thing. Do you? I don't know how much news you watch, or just TV or internet or whatever. But do you watch stuff from time to time with that editing eye?
Oh yeah. Like, granted, the series was garbage, but in the Iron Fist, the Netflix series, like one of the first episodes, they had a beautiful transition of snow. I'm like, yes. So transitions sometimes it is just like a good green screen, but yeah, some editing, specifically action scenes, those nowadays are all just fast paced, cut, and I hate it because a long drawn out action scene will always feel better because it takes more skill to do than just cut to and then just having them stand in the same position to do whatever, instead of just having 30 seconds of choreography play out and I just enjoy that more. There's more mistakes that can happen in those moments. Like in The Last Jedi, half those people in that throne room were just standing there waiting for their cue. It's like long drawn actions. It's so much. So yes, I look at things from that perspective, also from like a storytelling perspective, because as though I don't tell stories in my job, I tell stories in my own stuff that I do, and I also hear the stories that the people I work with tell. So look at that way too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kolten. I appreciate welcoming us into your corner. This literally is a corner.
Yes.
That's where he lives when he's at work here in 8 hours or 9 hours a day. But the nice thing is he's out in the open with the newsroom, so we can holler at him. He's not back in the edit bay in the area back there where we can't really access him as easily. So I can just turn around and go, Kolten, give me this, whatever. So thank you for tuning in for another episode of Inside NTV. We will be back next week with another episode.